What's up, everybody? Merry Christmas. Had to run and get my Eagles Christmas hat, as you see, real quick. Quick change up. It's that time of year. Birds deep. We got a lot to dissect. But first, the introductions, if you will. I got Cool McCain over here from Eagles Elite Podcast. I'm the
What
Godfrey.
up?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, what up?
Shout it. Say it with your chest. I'm the Godfrey, THEEGODFREY. And then below me, got my man here, the NFL genius. Gene, tell him who you are.
Mean! Woo! Gene. Every time I do that, I feel like I'm paying homage to the great Ric Flair.
Are you really that mean, though, Gene?
I do that. I am. Well, tonight I am. I'm very frustrated. I'm in a pissed off mood for a lot of different reasons, but the Eagles are one of them.
Yeah, they've given us a full advent calendar, if you will, of reasons to be pissed off. There's more than 12 days that they have, or more than 12 reasons, I should say. Yeah, not the result we were expecting or hoping for last week. So obviously we're going to get into grades and then preview the Christmas Day celebration of Tommy Cutlets coming to town. So, thankful for the Giants to give us something to be entertained by. And now this game is meaningful. So when you looked on the schedule, you didn't think it would be, but it is. It is very much so. So that being said, we're gonna just jump right into it. I mean, do we just want to come off the top rope on last week's games and get into these grades, fellas?
I feel like before we get into grades, it's really important to stress how frustrated, angry, upset this team is falling apart at the seams. They're pointing fingers at each other. They're 10-4. They're one game out of being the best team in the NFL record-wise. And they remind me of a team that's 4-10, worrying about where their next job's going to be. I feel like I'm watching that Spider-Man meme where it's like, you? Is it you? They're on Twitter arguing with fans, YouTubers. And that's not just A.J. Brown. That's Darius Slay. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated to say the least. So we can get in the grades, but I need to preface that's not what leaders do. Leadership, remember the Titans. Attitude reflects leadership, captain. That starts with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hear you there. I do think it was not a great loss. I think there's a little bit of emotional overreaction. I think there's underreaction from the coaches. I do think, hearing people out there say, we should start Marcus Mariota is ridiculous. I can't even fathom that train of thought. Don't watch football anymore if that's what you think. Retire. It's been a good game. Go watch soccer or something else.
Go hang out with David Carr. Yeah,
go hang out with David Carr. Exactly. So, I mean, the thing is I agree. It's they're acting crazy, unprofessional. At the same time, I do think there's some credence to the frustration. Like, why is that happening? Not with the fans, but why is it bubbling out in that way? And losses are part of it. Winning cures everything. But I do think that a lot of people are a voice of frustration. I mean, listen, I'm very upset with Jalen, in a sense where the film don't lie. I don't know why he's trying to play hero ball, but I definitely see it. And I wasn't really on this. I've always been on his footwork being bad all year. That's something I've noticed on film, but I really wasn't on him missing the plays until Greg Cosell started to point that out on film, and he's missing throws. He's missing guys that are open.
But see, Godfrey, every game in the NFL, guys miss guys that are wide open. That happens everywhere. You can look at every play in the NFL, and there's a player open. That's okay.
Can I go one step further with that,
Yes,
Gene?
sir. Yes, sir.
So, Godfrey, and a lot of people that are talking about that. And Cosell, you're a wonderful guy. You've been doing this longer than I have. I was still pooping in the pamper when you started this, so you know more. But I want to say this. What you have to understand is you scheme to have the side you're not worried about where the quarterback's not going to look. Defenses purposely do that. If I know especially if I already know your plays, because they already know our plays. right? They're calling the plays out on Monday Night Football. Christian McCaffrey's talking out plays. Eli Manning's calling out plays. Peyton Manning's calling out plays. But old silly Sirianni's not worried about that because it's just that they're really intelligent guys.
I think that's overblown a little bit. There's guys with high football. I don't. I'm not saying our offense is great, but I mean, there's guys that know football. They're going to be able to call
I
that
don't mean
shit
to
out
cut you
right
off,
away.
Godfrey, but if it's so overflated, how come the players are pissed off and mad about it? How come the players are even saying the other team
they're not
knows what we're
winning.
doing before we do it?
They're not winning.
Well,
I mean,
Cool's right.
I hear what you're saying about
let him
scheme.
finish
Cool.
what he's saying because I really kind of want to hear him finish his statement on this because I agree with it.
Yeah, so the thing is, man, I'm not saying that it's all on the play calling, but where I want to go with this is the person at the very top is who needs to be on the hottest seat in the freaking NFL right now, and that's Nick Sirianni. Because he came out of his press conference and he said, if you have a problem with the offense, blame me. This is my offense. I have Brian Johnson running my offense. Your offense sucks, and you suck. And Howie Roseman, you brought this piece of trash here. So I got a problem with you too. And you should have let him go and kept Shane Steichen. My problem is with Nick Sirianni the most. And I'm not saying that there aren't other people, but you're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to be the guy that keeps that locker room level. And you're doing a piss poor job of that. You act like you want to be one of the guys and you want to hang out and you want to do that. Coach, be a leader, be the head coach.
But listen, it's fair to add.
Let me respond to that. I agree with 95% of what Cool just said. He's right on almost all levels. They are running the offense. Nick Sirianni did say that in the press conference, and I agree with his statement. I will say this, though. He was accountable. He did hold himself accountable. He deferred any type of issues off of Brian Johnson and put them on himself. I respect that. Now, if it changes, that respect will grow. But I want to answer CJ's question here. He says, so is it the ability to diagnose and read the coverage, the offensive scheme, or a combination? The answer is it's both. Jalen Hurts has the ability to read, is really lacking the ability right now to read coverage. He wasn't good at that last year. The reason that they were so good last year is because Shane Steichen was scheming players open. Go watch the Colts, guys.
That's what Greg Cosette was talking about. That's part of what he was talking about.
I agree with that.
Because the Colts are showing you the Eagles' offense of last year with lesser talent.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't get is people say Jalen audibles. He's allowed to audible. So either he's allowed to audible or he's not. So meaning he could be out there and be the field general. If you're out there and you're making choices of winning the game, there's no excuse for trying to, as Sirianni said, I don't buy it, trying to draw offsides or a PI penalty. Game wall's right there. Game situation says get in the field goal range. Okay. That was his choice not to do that. He mounted up and he threw it deep. If he goes to Gamewell, he's not going to get benched. No one's going to be mad at him. If you're the leader of the team, you're the franchise quarterback, you make that decision. You're not going to get in trouble. You're the field general. Do it. He made a choice to throw that ball deep. And where I'm mad at Sirianni is if he's playing the CE role, why are we throwing to Quez Watkins on first down? I don't care about the penalties. There were bad officiating. Yes, they still could have won the game outside of that. And the problem I have with that is it's a first down throw. Yeah, take a shot. But why? And that's where Sirianni makes me mad. I said this before on the show. He likes to stick with his guys. No, man. That should not be a thing anymore. They even said it like on the broadcast. Or no, I'm sorry. I forget who said it. Someone's talking about how come every time Ruben Frank said it. How come every time there's a turnover, we see Quez Watkins is present around the ball, right? He's not.
I mean, I'm not saying every time you see a turnover, Quez Watkins around the ball. Jalen Hurts has turned the ball over a ton.
He has, but
Quez Watkins.
When he's involved in a play.
Yes, I will say this. Quez Watkins has no ability to high point a ball, has no ability to get physical after a ball, and you cannot underthrow him. You cannot underthrow him. You have to throw him a ball and let him run underneath it. I don't think he should be on the field. I agree with you. But if you're going to throw the ball to Quez Watkins, you cannot underthrow him. He's not going to make a contested catch. That's not who he is.
So if I'm an AJ Brown and I see that,
like asking me to race, I'm not going to be good at it.
1,000% agree.
If I'm an AJ Brown and I see that,
all you can do is throw the ball to him one way. Do you know where he needs to be? In the IFL or the AFL, not the NFL.
No, the
Not
XFL
on
maybe, right?
and no. Don't disrespect the XFL like that. The IFL or the AFL. That's the talent that they have there. But we're taking that low level talent, that inability to care about being a wide receiver except to run under a ball, and we're saying that's going to be our third receiver. When we got Zacchaeus on the bench, we got Julio Jones on the bench. And again, I want to go back to something I talked about way at the beginning of the season: depth. Last year on the line, we had a lot more depth than we have now. Also, we kept 4 tight ends, and one of them, the one we traded for and gave up an asset for, has done nothing for the team.
Yeah. I thought
We
he
didn't
was.
need a 4th tight end. We never needed a 4th tight end. So we wasted a roster spot all year on a 4th tight end. And we're wasting a roster spot on Quez Watkins. So we're wasting 2 roster spots every week. The best thing that happened to the Philadelphia Eagles was Quez Watkins got hurt and couldn't play because silly Sirianni couldn't put him out there.
Yeah, it's the Quez Watkins thing. Now, I would forgive it if I wouldn't even forgive it if they're saying like Jalen went there on the play. That's where he saw the play going. That was the first read. That's what they said. They said that was the first read on that play. That's where he's intending to go to the ball. If I'm AJ Brown, if you're trying to get a PI, and I'm not talking about the last play of the game, or you want a high point of ball, I'm going AJ Brown over that guy.
I
don't care.
Smith over
or Devontae, any of them. But the point is like, why force feed that in there? They try to be too cute and do things and be different for the sake of being different. I feel that I just can't. How can you drop a strategy that way and say, this? No, man, it doesn't make any sense at all.
So do you want to start at coaching staff? Do you want to start at the offensive coordinator / head coach?
We can start where you'd like to start.
Yeah, let's go with coaching staff.
Ready.
Let's start with the coaching staff. I'm giving Sirianni and Brian Johnson a D for this game. Not a D plus, not a D minus, a D. I felt like the first half, they had a very good scripted drive. It looked very good. They came out and scored a touchdown, went up 7-0. They looked like they were moving the football. They were running the football, and then the wheels completely fell off. The Eagles moved the ball at will in that football game. They did. They were not being stopped by Seattle at all. But yet they only finished with 17 points. They let their foot off the accelerator, and I felt like the shot plays didn't make sense. When they did take a shot play at Quez Watkins, it was with like 5 minutes left on the clock when you're already in Seattle territory. Like, a field goal does you wonders there. You can't lose the game in regulation if you get a field goal. You're running the ball with success.
Yep.
So, and then they get the ball back again with up 4 because they got a break and they ended up forcing Seattle to kick a field goal. They get the ball up 4 and they can't hold on to it again. And another bad play call. They threw a bomb down the sideline to AJ Brown when Devonta Smith was wide open. Now, for AJ Brown to be like, that was a shot play called for me. Okay, well, it was very obvious it wasn't there, and it was badly underthrown. And if you're reading the coverage properly, which he's not, Jalen's not reading the coverage properly. Nope. And guys, remember, this is only his 4th year in the NFL. It's okay for him not to read coverage like Drew Brees or Peyton Manning. It's okay for him to be still developing. But I said this before.
Better than last year.
Correct. I said this before, and I'll say it again. Carson Wentz had Frank Wright, who pressured him, who pushed him, who made him a better player.
Yep. When
Frank Wright took the head coaching job on the Colts, they promoted Carson Wentz's buddy, Press Taylor, to be the offensive coordinator.
He also had DiFilippo too, right? So that he worked. Yeah.
Let me finish. Secondly, when Carson Wentz's buddy, Press Taylor, left and the Eagles offense looked anemic, the Eagles started over. They hired Nick Sirianni. They had Shane Steichen running the offense. Shane Steichen leaves, and who do they promote? Jalen Hurts' buddy, Brian Johnson. It becomes full circle. There's a reason they keep calling it Wentz 2.0. I don't think it will be that because I think Jalen's a better leader.
Yeah, 100%.
But I can see the similarities.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of similarities. I'll go next. I'm giving them an F. And I do agree that they did pretty good in the first half. But the fact that you did not put your foot on their throat and leave it there against this Seattle team, the fact that you couldn't even put 20 points on the board against this team, you all deserve an F. That is garbage. Play calling, garbage. There was some good stuff in the beginning. But again, like we always do, we either start trashy and get a little bit better, or we start good for once but then we get trashy. At what point are you guys calling the plays going to understand if it's not broke, don't fix it because you're not fixing it. You're breaking it. You broke this game. It started off good. I'm like, okay, we're going to run the ball. We're going to take what's available. Cool. We're not going to try to do too much. Then we start being the same old team that can't win because we can't be smart. And we can't make safe plays when we had the ball. Why not run the ball more? Why not take time off the clock? You know we're in the middle of a struggle. You know we're in a little bit of a slump. You know you got things going on. Why not do the things that are being successful? That's too hard for them.
Yeah,
We'll get into that, CJ. When we get to the
Yes,
defense, I promise
we definitely will get into that. We definitely will.
So it's my turn to come off the top rope.
Yes, sir.
F-. Listen, yeah, they did well then. I've seen this episode. They've done well and then petered out toward the end. All right. It's like Groundhog Day. Here's the thing. I haven't really hit a panic button until this week because I expect ebbs and flows out of a season. And I'm not even fully panicking yet. But the problem I have is just certain things like the screen passes to Dallas Goedert, right? Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith is the lead blocker.
Right. I'm surprised you guys didn't even say that. I was like, ooh, they left that for me. Devontae Smith is the
Gotta leave you
lead
something,
blocker.
man. Gotta leave you something.
Yeah. I mean, come on. We're supposed to scheme things. What scheming is going on? If I see another bubble screen, I swear to God, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, I'm going to run naked into the street and just start cursing at the top of my lungs. Like, it's just, everybody's got to suffer if I got to suffer. It's just getting out of control. And the Brian Johnson thing is a correct comparison. He needs to be coached hard. He said he likes to be coached hard. I've always loved Jalen for his character. And I think he's that guy. But they have to challenge him. They have to rein him in. They're gonna they need some of that. But the Sean Payton relationship with Russell Wilson. Sean Payton could get away with that. They need a little bit of that with Jalen, right? Because listen, there's plays out there. I'm not happy with a lot of the offensive design, but there's plays that are left on the field by choices and players not making plays. I mean, I'm not sitting here and happy with his personnel selection, their play scheme, their play calling, their excuses for why they did something. And Nick Sirianni was lying through his teeth about certain things. I expected, we'll get to the defensive coordinator later, but come on, Nick, like, we're not stupid. Like, stop, man. And the thing is that everybody, when they come into a position of responsibility, they try to put their imprint on it, their fingerprint, right? And that's what this smells of. Like, Sirianni knew Steichen was successful at doing it. He had to give it up. His play calling wasn't really that great. His play scheming wasn't really that great. And, he's got to be a better CEO if he wants to be the CEO type of coach, and he's got to make that call. Listen, I said going into the season, Quez Watkins concerned me. There's a lot of other concerns going out, right? And that he's just like a bad nightmare that keeps coming. That's other things that are happening on the team as well. And you persevere through that as a football team. But they get an F all, with the coaching as far as the offense goes, because I don't feel like they have a backup plan for when things do come off the bus, right? It's just like, oh, we're screwed. We're going to have to take this. The field goal thing is so on point, Gene, because I feel like coaches are allergic to field goals. I feel like I could be a coach if I decided just, I'm going to kick a field goal when I get in field goal range. I can win games because it just seems to be a trend, and Sirianni's definitely bought into it. You got a guy that can hit 60-yarders in the rain, in the wind, and you're like, you know what? We're not going to do that. So he basically said he co-signed that throw at the end. You know what I mean? And then people were like, is it an interception? Did it matter with 6 seconds left? I mean, maybe they could have did something. It's just F-.
I'm tired of the blaming on the officials for that game. I'm tired of it.
I agree.
They were awful. But
We are not the Miami
officials.
Dolphins fans. We are not the Dallas Cowboys fans. We are not the San Francisco 49ers fans. We are the Philadelphia Eagles fans. And that game was not egregiously called. I watched that game fully, and I felt like it was called fair. Could they have maybe called a hold or a PI on the Quez Watkins interception? Maybe. But if that happened to us, we would be very upset that they made that call in that moment if our cornerback made that interception. There's pulling and tugging on every play in the NFL.
Okay.
I felt like that was
that Bradbury call was BS in my opinion. But the Eagles had plenty of time and plenty of ways to win the game outside of that. I didn't
I
like.
don't think we started on Bradbury.
Yeah,
We
I didn't like the
might as well get
Metcalf
to
call.
Jalen Hurts before we get into Bradbury because Bradbury's going to get his own.
Metcalf was still in balance when they called him out of bounds to stop the clock.
That was a bad call. I agree with you. I don't think it changes the game.
No,
It might change the game on that a little bit. You got a lot. The play you could run, the formation you get up. That's a big deal right there. They still should have won the game regardless. So
let's get into Jalen Hurts. You can start Godfrey since you went last time.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Jalen a D. I wasn't happy with the way he played. I'm gonna give him a D minus. I'll give him credit for the first drives he had. He made some good throws. Early in the game, 5 for 5, running the ball, making some good decisions, and then the wheels came off the bus. We're still trying to dissect who's to blame for what, play design, play call, whatever it may be. But all I know is, you're the franchise quarterback in the tight moment. I need a better throw than that. If you don't think you can make that throw, I need your judgment to be, I'm going to go to game well and get these yards. It's not there. I need quicker decision making, better decision making. And he hasn't been doing that. His feet work. Look at his footwork. I'm telling everybody all year long, I've been saying it. Look at it. It's different from last year. Steichen's not there. There's someone that's not there coaching him on it. They're not saying, hey, you need to clean this up. You need to clean that up. And it's showing in the game on the field. So that's D- for me.
Cool.
I'm giving him an F. You sit there and you allow these same plays to be called, but you talk to us about how you have the ability to audible, how you've audible into certain plays. That was not a play that you needed to make. That was not a call that you should have made in this situation. You have been, and I've said this other weeks, you have been watching and learning and understanding football since you were a young child. Your dad is a high school coach. Football has been your life. You understand that play sucked, but you still went out there and you did it. And not just that. There are several instances where you can say, you know what, man? I know this is the call, but we about to audible into a run play here because we need to get some yards. We need to burn some clock. And the ability that you have to turn the ball over at such an alarming rate this year, you get an F, man. I can't give you anything above an F. And I understand that you had some good plays at the beginning, but we need entire games. I can't sit here every week and say, oh, Jalen did good in the first, 10 minutes of the game. He played really well. No. You have to play an entire game or you suck. Great quarterbacks in the NFL don't play good for 10 minutes. They play good for the entire game. Now, do they have games where they're not as good and they come back and they get big wins? Okay, but you can't do that every week. You need to start going out here. You need to be in your OC's ear. You need to be in your coach's ear. We got to do something different. If we're not going to do something different, we're not going to be successful. And when you're out there on the field and you see that things are not working, come on, dude, Quez Watkins is not going to make that catch unless it drops into his hands. That's the only way he makes a catch. And he only does that half the time, in my opinion. So to go there when you need a play, I just can't see it. F.
I give him an F also. I think that he was terrible. He was 17-31 with 2 interceptions, 143 yards. He missed a lot of throws. He underthrew a lot of throws. He was terrible. I mean, he was sick. And, part of me wants to feel bad for him, but he was awful. And I think the part of me that wanted to feel bad for him was deleted the moment he went in that press conference and blamed his teammates. I understand what he's saying, and those things can be said in the locker room. But to tell the media that you think that they lack competitiveness, and what was the word he used? He used a specific word.
You see, we all to be on the same page.
I'm trying to think what the word he used was because I saw it. I was like, what? I can't remember the exact word, but yeah, I saw it. And the thing is,
the word he needed a dictionary for it. I don't have a dictionary.
AJ's doing it. You got Devontae kind of sneak doing it. Like I don't like that. Screw up.
Committed. He said we're not committed enough.
We're not committed enough. I just looked.
He also he said uninspired in there too.
When you say something about committed, you're the leader of the team. You're paid. The last thing, remember what I said about AJ Brown last week? I'm going to say the same thing about Jalen Hurts this week. You get paid millions of dollars to be the leader of that team. It's not just because you're a good quarterback. It's because you're the leader. When you're a quarterback, you have to lead the team. Jalen Hurts has shown me time and time again that he can be a great leader. He was not a great leader in that press conference. He was not a great leader on that field. He gets an F from me. And I get the start. It's kind of cheating. No, it's a cool start. It's not fair.
No,
Cool.
You can start.
Defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia. I gave Matt Patricia a B+. I think he called an excellent game. I think that as a whole, the defense looked a million times better, with the exception of one player. I want to bring this up, right? Eli Ricks was thrown at 0 times, allowed 0 receptions on 26 coverage snaps. Keely Ringo was thrown at 1 time with pass breakup, 0 receptions, 4 targets, 0 receptions with a pass breakup. As the starting opposite side corner to James Bradbury. Every play on that last drive that Seattle scored a touchdown, every completed pass was completed on James Bradbury. You cannot be playing sticks defense with a running clock and 30 seconds left. You can't do it. You cannot allow someone to get behind you. You have to be playing outside leverage and deep coverage. No one can get behind you, and no one should be able to get out of bounds. You make them throw the ball across the middle, and you live with your safety help. James Bradbury was terrible that game. And for being the highest paid cornerback on the field with Slay out, he was terrible. I've stood up for James Bradbury in the past. I thought he played excellent versus San Francisco. I thought he played great. I've stood up for him in the past, and I watched the football game the way it's meant to be watched. When AJ Brown gets on Twitter and goes, "You fans don't know what you're watching," I do. I study this. I studied James Bradbury in that game, and it was like watching DeRon Bland versus Seattle. He was in quicksand. It was. He was in quicksand.
It really sadly was. That's was I'm laughing. It's not funny, but I'm laughing because it really was.
I will say this though, we do have a developing superstar in Sidney Brown. I think that kid can be incredible. Yeah, you called it. You're right.
I liked Ringo. Ringo played well too, man.
Ringo played very well, but Ringo's hot and cold. I watched him in college, and I'll tell you exactly what he is. There's going to be certain wide receivers that just are in his pocket, and when you notice that, you have to remove him. This game, he played great. He matched up very well. So I think Ringo played well. I think Sidney Brown played well. I think Reed Blankenship played well. Kevin Byard played well.
I was impressed with Ricks.
Eli Ricks played well. The only 2 people on the defense that did not look good to me, and I'm just being honest, and these are James Bradbury and Shaquille Leonard. Shaquille Leonard looked like he gave up on a play that there would end up being a missed tackle, and they ended up getting 20 more yards on Kenneth Walker. I think Shaq Leonard and James Bradbury both looked bad. I think the rest of the defense looked good.
So let me ask you a question before I hear some more grades. So on that play to James Bradbury, he obviously got burned. He said he was playing to the sticks, is what his quote was, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the play design on that? Was it single high safety?
Yeah, they're playing single high safety.
Do you think they should have been playing single high safety in that situation?
Yes. You pay and that single high safety should be on the other side where he was. You're paying a cornerback $15 million to be on that side of the field and not allow a touchdown over his head. You have to live with that. If you made the decision to pay that cornerback and he's your number 1 corner and he's on the number 3 wide receiver on the team, he wasn't on DK Metcalf. He wasn't on Tyler Lockett. He was on Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I would have took a PI.
I mean, you could have, but I actually think that it's very poor design on James Bradbury. You have to have – listen, I don't care what the coach tells you. I don't care what the play is. I don't care if it's single high. You cannot allow a receiver to get behind you in that situation.
I think that play where Ken Walker went to when he had that run or to the end zone was awful. I like the pursuit was awful on it.
You're right. I didn't give them but they allowed 20 points in the entire game. Yeah. And the Eagles defense, the Eagles offense turned the ball over twice. So they got 2 extra possessions in the game, and we allowed 20 points. And if I'm being completely honest, all our young players played better. Like, I've seen development this week. I've seen guys flying around the football. I've seen the defensive line getting pressure. I don't think the defense played bad. And if you allow 20 points to Seattle, you should win the football game, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very happy with the move by putting Sean Desai in the booth. And I was very happy that the Eagles made it decision to keep Sean Desai and allow him to develop as a defensive coordinator understudy to a guy that's been in the league for a long time. I don't know if Matt Patricia's the guy, but I listened to his press conference praising Slay and talking to him, and I think that the Eagles defense will be fine moving forward. I don't know if I could say the same about the offense right now.
So I'm gonna give the defense a C. The one reason I'm gonna go a little bit lower than Eugene, I agree with a lot of what you said, is I've been saying all year, the whole point in getting Keely Ringo, the whole point in Eli Ricks was to take some of the load off of these older corners. You got these advanced age corners, and you're out there playing them like they're 28. They're not, right? They're at a point where they may not have the same speed they had in their prime. I'm not saying that they're all the way out of their prime, but they're on the downtrend of it. So the whole point, I thought, in bringing these other guys was rotation, right? Get the other guys some time, but those guys get some time. So maybe some of these plays later in the game, your older cornerbacks are a little bit fresher. Those legs still move a little bit faster because we have a lot of defensive snaps because our offense gets a lot of turnovers, a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of fast possessions. So by bringing in young guys, they should be playing. Finally, they're starting to play. And I think a big reason that they even played was because Slay was hurt. To be honest, I feel like if Slay was not hurt, we would have saw the same thing we've been seeing. Slay on one side the whole game, Bradbury on the other side the whole game. And I don't know if that would have went as well because Slay would have been attacked as well. So, personal opinion, we don't know for sure, but that's how I feel based on what I've seen. Depth has always been the thing that made us a great defense. That's something that's mentioned. That's not the defense's fault, so I'm not blaming them for that, but I'm saying that's something that we have to get back to. Instead of having 4 tight ends, let's have another defensive lineman. Instead of having a guy wasting a roster spot as a wide receiver, let's have another DB or let's have another linebacker. Right? We have to do a better job of allocating the proper assets. And while I like what Patricia did so far this week, he's basically using from what was said, what he said and what Sirianni said, is that he's going to be using the same type of plays that Desai was. He's just going to be putting his own touches on it, like personnel on the field, things like that. He did play Sidney Brown in different roles, which I have been advocating for all year as well. This guy's talented. He can play that slot corner. He can be that safety that's back. He can play that role that CJ played to an extent. I'm not saying he would be as good as it at this point, but he's the guy who could do that. But he has to see the field. He can't do it sitting on the side playing 5 to 10 plays a game. Before Nolan Smith got hurt, he's not in the game enough. We have some pieces that are not being used properly. If we're not going to do that, it's going to be a problem. I still believe the team can go deep if they can fix whatever the issue is now.
I thought it was very interesting how they played Kevin Byard as their nickel linebacker in that game, and I felt like it was very smart to be able to move Sidney Brown. They played the safeties of Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship on the majority of plays. They only played one linebacker on 33 snaps because they used Kevin Byard for that second linebacker. Shaq Leonard played 28 snaps. Nicholas Morrow still out-snaps everybody in the linebacking group, and that's a problem, guys. 61 snaps. He played every snap on the defensive side.
He did make a play last week, though. He did make a play.
So what? If you played 61 snaps and you made a play, that doesn't mean that you're a good linebacker.
You should really be slapped. Yeah, you should be slapped for that.
He stinks.
I didn't say he was good. I'm just saying he made a play at least. So.
What's your grade on the defense, Matt Patricia?
I'm with Cool. I'm at a C. I just don't. It was better. I know the personnel isn't necessarily the coach's fault. It's the GM's fault. Injuries, things like that. But I do think that I don't think. There's things that still happen. Like I don't understand having Bradbury out there when they know that, and it's money. They're paying him that much. Like they know he lost a step. He was never fast. Bradbury was never fast. He's lost a step on top of not being fast. He wasn't a burner, never was. And
Alshon Jeffrey. I know it's a different position, but he was never fast. But when he lost the step, he completely fell off the map.
And the thing is
maybe
he
needs to do the safety.
Yeah, I think Matt Patricia just has a deeper understanding of the schematics, and that's why you saw an improvement there than Sean Desai does at his point in his career. Whatever you want to say about Patricia's past and not. And maybe you guys don't agree with me here, but I think Slay has not played as bad as people are saying he has played. Do you think?
That
According to
last
him,
week.
according to him, he's been great.
Well, I'm
Look at
not
his
saying.
PFF numbers.
I just think he's not one of the major problems on the defense. Bradbury
He
is.
posts on Twitter every week.
Yeah, well, that's a problem itself. But I don't know. What do you think about Slay, Gene? You think?
I think Slay's played very good.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm being completely honest with you. I don't think the defense is. And by the way, I throw up inside my mouth every time you blame personnel for this defense not being good.
No,
It's
I said
not
the coach doesn't select the personnel.
No, but you said you can't. You know, there's personnel issues, and that's on the GM. There's no personnel issues. Nick Morrow is the only personnel issues. The linebacking group is the only personnel issues. That's
It's a big
it.
hole.
Oh, okay, but if you have a guy that can make a Pro Bowl at every position on the field outside of linebacker, you should still be a good defense. You should still be able to scheme around that. And what Matt Patricia did this week is he schemed around that. He moved Kevin Byard into that second linebacker spot a ton. I'm okay. Yes, I
Didn't
agree.
Tennessee do that with him when he was in Tennessee
He
too?
did
By
it
the
a
way,
ton.
you're right. Okay, so that's when people were saying he stinks. I'm like, why are we playing him the way we're playing him? I'm like, I don't think Byard's
Because now you
washed
have
up.
Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship playing safety and not having them play in the box safety. Whereas when you have Kevin Byard in the box, he's a hitter. That's what he is. He's good on tight ends. He's good at the line of scrimmage. You're probably going to beat him over the top. So when you have a guy that's flying around the ball like Sidney Brown, that's who I want playing center field.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I just.
But it's not personnel, Godfrey. Stop saying it's personnel. It's not personnel.
Oh, they're not short on personnel.
No,
we couldn't use a
they're not.
DN.
I would
No
say
one-
depth. I would say depth could be. You could say
right.
depth, but I wouldn't
So
say
that's a problem when they're a rotational defense and Nolan Smith's not contributing. Your first round pick's got to contribute for whatever reason
that's
that
not
is.
depth. That's not personnel.
What do you
He's
mean?
a first round pick. He runs a 4.3 40. That's the defensive coordinator. That's the defense as a whole not being schemed well. I can't blame Matt Patricia for 1 week. I can continue to blame Sean Desai for his defense all year. But I will say this, and I'm going to make it very
Nolan should be
clear.
in the lineup. He should be in
Yeah,
the
he
lineup.
definitely should be playing more. But I will say this, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. Good defensive coordinators. Let me ask you a question, guys, real quick. Who's got a better defense this year, statistically? Minnesota or Philadelphia?
Oh, Minnesota.
By far. Name me 4 players on Minnesota's defense.
I can give you 4, but I get where you're going with it.
They're terrible. Their personnel is terrible. They have a good coach that coaches their defense well. That's the difference.
I think Bynum be a nice safety to have on our team. I don't think he's terrible. I would take Ivan Pace too.
Okay, so you would take Bynum.
I would take Danielle Hunter. I would definitely take.
Danielle Hunter wouldn't play a snap on this team.
What do you mean?
Who are you playing him over? Sweat? Reddick? He's better. They're both better than him.
Well, they would rotate him on this team.
Okay, he'd be a rotational end. So you gave me a safety, Harrison Smith, Bynum, who's not as good in my opinion as what we're going to get in Sidney Brown.
Yeah.
You gave me a linebacker who would 100% start, and I get that, and a rotational defensive end. You want to give me another good player on Minnesota's defense? Because they stink. But they outplay us because they have Brian Flores, who knows how to coach defense.
They got some better players on that defense.
Their defense stinks.
So you're telling me a guy that's got 15 and a half sacks so far stinks?
Their
Danielle Hunter
defense
stinks?
as a whole
You wouldn't
stinks.
start on our team? 15 and a half sacks?
No, he wouldn't. Sweat and
Okay.
I think Sweat
That's
and
crazy.
Reddick
I'm
are
sorry.
better than Danielle Hunter.
I diametrically disagree with you on that. I take Danielle Hunter over Josh Sweat any day of the week. And I bet you a majority of people will agree with me. No way in the hell.
Would Dean Lowry start on this team?
Who? I'm not bringing up Lowry. I'm talking about
Would
Danielle Hunter.
Harrison Phillips start on this team?
And you're telling me this guy can't start
Would
over Josh
Jonathan
Sweat?
Bullard start on this team? Would
Who?
DJ Warnham start on this team?
No.
Would Akili Edwards start on this team?
Ivan Pace would look nice.
Ivan Pace and Cameron Bynum and Danielle Hunter. I already told you. You have 3 friggin' starters, but their defense is better than ours. Why?
Well, scheme. Yeah, coach is going to do that, but I think he has some better players.
Personnel. It's not personnel. It's coaching. Because if Brian Flores was our coordinator, we'd be 13-1.
He's a better coach for sure, but I mean, there's younger guys that had to develop. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a decide defender.
So here's why I say part of this is depth, team. Here's why I say part of this is depth. Because until this week, we didn't see any significant play from Keely Ringo. We didn't see any significant significant play from I got so excited I forgot the other either one of the young corners. Let me just say it like that.
Brown.
I didn't see
Hicks?
Eli Rick.
Eli Ricks. I didn't see any significant play from Sidney Brown enough that so now that we're seeing these other pieces on there, then we're seeing for this week the way Matt Patricia coached against this offense, they look better. Right.
100%.
So I will agree.
I
So
agree
I
with
will
that.
agree based on playing those guys.
There's not
that
a
you
little
weren't
bell
playing
curve with Drew
before.
Lock.
We'll see. We'll find out next. Well, I guess we'll find out in 2 weeks because theoretically we're
I
getting
think we
DeVito
won't
this
find
week.
out until you get into the playoffs.
Okay, that's fine.
I think they have three that you weren't going to find out they have a good defensive coordinator until they're in the playoffs. And yeah, there probably is a bell curve with Drew Lock. You're right about that, Godfrey, but that's not the point. I've seen better defense this week than I've seen in weeks. And I'm just telling you the truth. Outside of James Bradbury, they weren't bad.
And I have to
Yeah,
agree.
they
with
weren't.
that. But I would just want to
They
see
weren't
it
bad,
continue.
but I felt like that Ken Walker touchdown was egregious, man. That was awful,
Right.
awful.
But that's
But
tackle.
Kenneth Walker's a
tackle.
second-round draft pick.
Yeah, but no, that's not it, man. It's not like he bowled over. There was nobody there. Come on, man. They got caught with their pants down on that play.
The offense gets
He
paid
walked in
money
the end zone.
also. This
But
is
what
a
I'm saying
team
is-
that's 7-7. They're not a bad football team.
That's not what I'm
Yeah.
saying, man. You look at that play, you can't tell me that they executed correctly on that.
They
They got,
didn't. You're right. But
Okay,
that's
so-
one play.
he didn't make
One
a
of the guys
super
said
play.
tackle him. No, he
He
didn't.
walked.
But the thing is, it was another one of those plays where one guy was going to make a tackle, and instead of trying to gain tackle or being there to back up your brother, you just left him on the island. He didn't finish the play, and everybody was like, "Oh man, he didn't finish. That sucks."
Yeah,
It's still tackling because you should have made the tackle.
that knocked it down to a C for me. That was. I'm sorry, man. I just can't. I watched that play. I was like, it was like a hot butter knife. I'm like, really? Okay.
All right, so I guess we can flush this down the toilet, right? This is the end of the Seattle.
Yeah, this needs to be flushed so many times.
With the losing streak, the 3-game losing, let's flush it all together.
It not only flushed, but you know how you got the little stuff that you stick on the back of the toilet so it goes down with everything, cleans everything, so the toilet looks like it's never been used. We need all that for this game.
I mean, if we're gonna go that far, cool. We need to get a stick from the outside and break this turd in half because it's giant. It ain't flushing.
If they lose Monday, they better not lose Monday. They lose.
I'm gonna be there.
All I gotta say, man, is everybody's been messaging me. It's a cheap plug, telling me how great the show's been when we're losing, and these are non-Eagles fans too. So a little bit of that's like piss on y'all, but
I'm not doing the show next week. The Eagles lose. I'm not.
Well, I'm doing Eagles Elite if we lose.
I'm not doing a show next week. We lose.
I don't know if I'll make it through the entire show, but I'm gonna start the show.
Eagles lose to New York Giants. I am not doing a show next week. If you lose on Christmas Day at home to New York Giants, I am not doing a show next week. You better not freaking lose on Monday afternoon. You better not lose on Monday afternoon.
I'm taking my nephew to the game. It's a Christmas surprise. And this is how I know he doesn't listen to my podcast because this would ruin it. So I'm going to break his balls about that. But I'm going to take him to see the Eagles game on that day. And yeah, I'm going to be pissed. I hate the Giants. I'm going to be pissed if Tommy Cutlet's nobody's greatest story as it is comes into Philly and wins. I'll lose my mind.
So I guess we're gonna move over to the Giants talk then, right?
That's the time. It's time to move to the Giants. Midgets. They lost. They finally looked bad. They lost to another bad football team in the Saints. I think that they're ripe for the picking. I don't think they're a good football team at all. I don't think Tommy DeVito is a good quarterback at all. I think they have one offensive weapon on the team, and that's Saquon Barkley. You better not lose this game. You better not lose this game. And you know what worries me about this game? It's not the Eagles defense slowing down Tommy Cutlets and Saquon Barkley, because I think they'll hold them under 20 points. It's the Eagles offense allowing the Giants to be opportunistic and turning the football over. That's what worries me about this football game.
Well, Jalen hasn't done well against the blitz this year. Wink Martindale blitzed a lot.
I don't think they're good. I don't think they're on good terms. I don't think the Eagles as a whole are on good terms with each other. I think there's very few real Chiefs in that locker room, like real leaders. And it's frustrating. And you can see Nick Sirianni, who's supposed to be the head of the boat, getting frustrated with reporters asking about the offensive play calling. I just said that. Dude, you don't have a right to do that, bro. If you want to celebrate with us when we're winning and you want to love the fan base when they're winning, you don't have the right to react that way when you lose. You need to put your head down, swallow the music, and handle yourself like an adult. Leaders lead.
Yeah, you can't
Winners
be.
win.
Yeah, you can't be putting that Bill Belichick vibe type shit out there unless you got a ring on your finger, buddy. And then, or have like 10 years under of consistency, like an Andy Reid. Nah, man, I wasn't feeling that at all. When they asked him about the defensive coordinator change and tried to say it was strategy, I'm like, shut up, like that.
And also when they were asking him about the looking forward to the next 3 games, like, oh, we're not looking for the next 3 games. We're looking forward to next week. I don't want to talk about anything past next week. Like, man, someone should have got up and walked up to you and punched you in the face.
He has like such a little attitude to him,
Yeah,
and it's annoying. And like you can tell, like he's getting frustrated and he's not doing well with the Philadelphia media. He was in a honeymoon for 2.5 years with Shane Steichen and that the talent that's on that team.
all you had to do was let Brian Johnson come in with his own playbook. Let him be the coordinator. But that's why you got Brian Johnson, because you wanted a guy that would agree to fine, I'll run your playbook, right? Your playbook sucks. And if you're not smart enough to see year one that it sucked, and we didn't do better until we adopted from that, why did you
I
go
can
back
tell
to
you
it?
the way the Eagles run. If Brian Johnson is supposed to run his playbook, like we really don't know what the inner workings is because we're not in there, right?
Godfrey.
The Eagles will
No,
fire.
no,
They'll
Godfrey.
fire Nick Sirianni if they bring an offensive coordinator and he doesn't let them run their playbook. They'll fire him.
Nick Sirianni said in the press conference, go back and watch it. He is running my playbook, but he's
I
calling
don't
the
believe him.
plays for my playbook.
I don't
I
believe him.
mean, the argument.
I believe him. I believe him because this is sugar honey iced tea.
Yeah,
I think that both things can be true. I think he could be lying about running the offense. I don't think that. I agree with Cool. I think he is running the offense, but I also think he could be defending his coordinator, and he could actually be like, listen, don't put this on Brian Johnson. Put it on me. I'm an offensive head coach. This comes on me. It's my playbook. It's my scheme. And if I'm being honest, it was probably the best leadership comment he made in the entire press conference.
In 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, the truth.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I just hope that the game plan's got to be beat the Giants. I mean, it's not a good team. They're not a good team. Their defenses are playing a little bit up lately, but I watched a lot of that Saints game, and what they thought they were going to do against the Saints, who are an average team, that was an awful game plan by the Giants. It was awful. And I'm just like, are these guys, the honeymoon's over. When a backup quarterback comes in, sometimes teams tend to rally around that backup quarterback. They had the right matchups coming down the road, who they faced. I didn't believe in the Packers. I got the receipts. I bet on the Packers to lose. Did not believe them going into that game. And I felt that was right. As soon as I saw a couple turnovers, I was like, yep, Giants are winning this. Threw some money on it live. Point of me bringing it up is I think the Eagles, I thought this was gut check time last week. I guess I was wrong. This is really gut check time. You got to end this losing streak. People are going to be jumping off the Ben Franklin if you let the Giants come in here and win. I mean, the D's got to step up. I'm most worried about, I agree with you, Gene. The reason why I'm worried about the offense most is Jalen has not done well against the blitz, and Wink Martindale blitzes a lot. So I am worried about that, and I'm worried about that execution. I'm worried about the game plan. I'm not worried about the defense. I'm worried about the offense. I agree with you.
I think that the Giants defense structurally is better than the Seahawks defense. And we only scored 17 points versus Seattle.
I agree. Yep.
I mean, they have better personnel. They have players. Xavier McKinney's a player. Deontay Banks a player. Adoree Jackson used to be a player. He's definitely fell off the map. Kayvon Thibodeau's first-round draft pick last year. Aziz Ojulari is a very good player. Dexter Lawrence is a good player. They have players on their defense.
Yep.
I wouldn't take this Giants team lightly. I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't be betting the Eagles minus 11.5. I think the game's going to be close.
It's up to 13.5 now.
Yeah.
The game's going to be close.
I don't know what we've shown the past few weeks to make people think that we're going to win by 11, 13
We're
points.
playing a team that's actively trying to lose at home, and we have 10 wins. That's exactly what the bookmakers did. And 90% of the money is on Philadelphia. So they're trying to hedge themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets to 15 so they can get Giants money on the books. But
Fair enough.
I'm with you. They don't deserve it.
No, they don't deserve it because you
Yeah, I
haven't done
mean,
anything. You haven't showed anything. Like you are what you've done. Like people always say, you are what your record are. That's true, but you are when you're 0-3 in the last 3 games. That's still part of your record. So a lot of people running around and say, "Oh, the Eagles are still a 10-win team." Okay, but if you really talk about those games, 4 or 5 of those games, we really won off luck. If we're being
yeah,
100% honest, I'll take the wins. I'm not trying to devalue the wins. I'm just saying, let's talk about what's really been happening all season. This has this should have been better by now. We shouldn't be sitting here talking about the offense looking like it's looking when we're going into week 16. We should not be talking about that. We
All
should
one
be talking about getting ready for the playoffs, what we're gonna do, how we're gonna, get back with San Francisco, get back to them and show them who we are.
we're not
I don't
catching
want to
Francisco.
I don't want to know. I don't want to show them who I am right now because I'm scared of what I see.
I actually think the Eagles landing in the 2 seed might be the greatest thing that can happen to them because
The best thing that can happen.
they
Sure.
they have 5 football games before they're going to play a Dallas or a San Fran. 5. Because and essentially it makes Dallas play San Fran in the NFC divisional round. So
I think. I mean, listen. When I look at the offense, the problem is I just don't see any flow to it, any consistency, right? One time we'll like, let's throw the ball deep. Let's do bubble screens. Okay. Then they'll be like, let's finally put the ball in DeAndre Swift's hand and throw some screens right there over the middle. Had some success with it. We're going to get away from that, right? There's no consistency in the approach. And it's almost like at this week, they're still trying to find their offensive identity. And it's just frustrating because it's like when you are trying to carve that out, there are going to be some failures within the game where not every drive goes correctly, but it seems like they just bail on whatever they want to do too early and then they pivot to something else. Like the bubble screens, I don't understand, not even outside of Dallas Goddard. I don't understand why they're doing that, right? And listen, you got another big body receiver in
they
Julio
ran
Jones.
another one to Devontae Smith that got broken up terribly. And if it wasn't for AJ Brown, it would have been a fumble or a pick six.
Yeah.
It's not just the Dallas Goddard one. The Dallas Goddard one was just, I would have walked right in their press conference. Hey, Nick, bubble screen to Dallas Goddard with Devontae Smith as the lead blocker. You're kidding, right? And that would have been my question.
That's a problem with reporting these days, right? We got some good ones in Philly,
I'd be
but
thrown out.
that you
Yeah,
shouldn't
you
be
would
thrown
have.
out though.
Yeah,
You shouldn't be,
yeah.
but that's how it
He
works
would
now.
have to thrown out.
That's how it works now. You shouldn't be thrown out, but that's how it works. And I just think that sucks. That's a whole nother conversation. But it's a fair question. I mean, look at the offense, the bubble screen. Like when I see those plays, you know who that actually reminds me of, and it makes me want to throw up. It reminds me of the Giants early in the season when I would watch them on their Monday Night Football. Every pass was at the line of scrimmage or right around there. Why? And it's because you we have the player personnel. I'd be frustrated as an AJ Brown or Devontae Smith when we're running stuff like that. And the other thing that really blew my mind about the offense is our unwillingness to take advantage of their corner deficiency. Witherspoon was out. The other quarterback, Tariq Woolen, was benched at the beginning part of the game. They could expose our corners, but we couldn't expose theirs, and we have the talent to do it, right? And that's the other thing. Like, we're not scheming players in the right situation, and they have to take what the what. Remember what Bosa said? It seems to be ringing true, right? I mean, so if what he said is ringing true, they got to stop doing that. They have to take what the defense gives you. If they're saying we're just going to give you underneath, take underneath. Tom Brady didn't become one of these great quarterbacks by always going to the deep ball. Take what the defense gives you. And when you do that, you're going to keep them honest. If they know that they can go to a certain set because they know what it's predictable, as we say, they're not going to be an honest defense, man. And you're going to have problems moving the ball. So I hope this is a wake-up call because I believe we have the personnel and offense to do what we need to do. So I don't know, man. It seems like they're being pretty staunch in their approach, and they're digging in and saying they're not really going to change, but we'll see what happens on the
I
field.
need to read you a stat because I've been waiting to do this. Wide receiver snaps for this past week. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith both had 66 snaps. Quez Watkins, 36, third most on the team. Julio Jones, 22. Olamide Zaccheaus, 5.
Why? I don't get it.
Hold on. The bottom 4 NFL wide receivers in yards per route run per PFF. Minimum 100 routes. Number 4, Quez Watkins at a 0.33 yards per route run. 4th worst in the NFL. Number 3, Jalen Reagor of the New England Patriots, a 0.03. Or sorry, a 0.3. Number 2, Randall Cobb, a 0.24. And number 1, the least amount of yards per route run in the NFL per PFF, Julio Jones.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, though, right? The key
And
is
Travis,
on
they
the
are
bench.
running the ball with efficiency. They're just not running the ball enough. And that's my issue, right? They are running the ball with efficiency.
Yeah, agree. They're just not. It needs to be like 10 to 15 more runs a game, in my opinion.
It's like if they get stopped on a run, I was watching this game here, right? They ran for 5 yards per carry.
If you get stopped, it's like, oh, we can't do that anymore.
Well, no. The problem that bothers me is this, right? The Philadelphia Eagles will run a bubble screen on first down and go to lose 2 yards and be 2nd and 12. And then run the football for 8 yards and be 3rd and 4 and then throw the football.
Exactly.
And then rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Zacchaeus is a
run
better
the ball
anybody
on
whose
first down.
name is not AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, or Dallas Goedert. That's the only people that the coaches basically come out and said they care about throwing the ball to. And that's pathetic.
Zacchaeus and Julio Jones are both better run blockers than Quez Watkins, without a doubt.
I think you're a better run blocker than Quez Watkins.
Everybody on the practice squad wide receivers are better than Quez Watkins overall.
I don't know what Quez brings to the team, bro. I don't know what he brings to the team.
So why
all this idiot keeps saying is speed, but it's worthless speed because nobody respects it.
There's plenty of fast guys that could play football that are wearing street clothes.
How was John Ross?
DB and just throw him on Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins is not going to make a catch, and the ball falls right in his lap.
Well, that's the thing too. Zacchaeus would be a better guy to have on that Goddard screen if you're going to do it than Devontae Smith in that position to block, right? I mean,
I would be a better person to have on there. Yeah. Gene would be a better person to have on there. Anybody in the chat would be a better person to have.
And you risk injury to the guy too. You don't want him to get injured by putting him in that position. It's just crazy. So to me, they got to change that defense wise, man. I think you just move Tommy DeVito off his spot. If you play disciplined defense and you're saying we're going to make you beat us with Saquon, they shouldn't score a lot of points. I mean, it's really not it should not be a very hard game plan for the Giants offense.
No, definitely shouldn't. All right, we got to get our predictions, and we'll see if you got any of you guys got any counterfeit greens this week, because I have one. I will start. I think the Philadelphia Eagles get off the schneid and win this football game 24-18. I think it's ugly. I think they win the football game. I think we're still questioning a million things after the game. I think there's serious problems in the locker room. I think it'll be like a 24-10 game, and I can see the Giants scoring a touchdown late, making it 24-16, doing that 2-point conversion thing, and then the Eagles winning the game 24-18. That's why I see it.
Yeah, my counterfeit green is Nick Sirianni acting like it was some kind of laid out strategic plan with his announcement of when it got leaked that Patricia was taking the play calling. Kiss my ass with that. Like, miss me with that. That is the most counterfeit green bullshit of the year so far. He's a bad liar, for one. We could see right through it. And two, you're not this is the NFL, bro. Like, you're not winning any strategy war by pulling that off. Like, stop. Like, get out of here with that. That's my counterfeit green. The Eagles, I think, are gonna win. I think they do have a little rebound here. I'm a big believer in redemption. And there's a base there for it. So I'm thinking Eagles win. People are going to think I'm crazy here, but I think 35-17 Eagles win pretty handily. Boston Scott touchdown, by the way, because he loves playing against the Giants.
I'm going to go 27-20. Eagles win. I don't think we can win by more than a touchdown until they have a win and they can get their minds back together and kind of get on the same page. I think we are going to give up some points to the Giants because, unfortunately, like we've shown all season, we're going to lose the turnover battle. But hopefully they're bad enough that we can still win. Maybe we only have one this week instead of multiple. But I mean, I can't say the big win for the Eagles just because we haven't done anything to show me that we're
27-20 would not be a big win. If it was 27-20, you're gonna have a lot of people that are upset on Tuesday morning. So
they're gonna be set anyway because they think we're gonna win 35-10 and stuff like that. It's not gonna happen.
I agree. You have a counterfeit
defense for that.
Do you have a counterfeit green?
My counterfeit green is everybody in the locker room is coming out acting like little punks and crying about everything to the media instead of doing it to the actual locker room. You're supposed to have a come to Jesus meeting a few weeks ago. I think you need another one.
Yeah, that was mine. My counterfeit green is it's fine. It's AJ Brown getting on Twitter and arguing with a YouTuber over something he was right about. He was right. Like Devontae Smith was wide open. Quarterbacks don't have to throw to their first read. I was the first read. It was a shot play. Okay, well, if the read's not there, why don't we go to the second read?
Come off it and go to another read. Exactly.
Yeah. Like it wasn't like it was Lamade Zaccheaus who runs 5 routes in the game. It was Devontae Smith, your number 2 wide receiver.
And if it was Zaccheaus, you probably should have given the ball more.
And it was on the same side of the field. It wasn't like it was on the other side of the field. It was just shorter.
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing. That's my counterfeit green this week.
They DeVito has not. He beat the Commanders in Washington, but we're not going to count that as impressive. But he played the Saints and the Cowboys on the road, and it was not even close. I don't know if he's going to come into Philadelphia on a Christmas Day and beat the Eagles. I just don't see it happening.
All right, well, guys, if you want to
lock one though, so
if you want to continue listening to football talk tonight, we'll be on Sideline to Sideline. Me and myself, D. Godfrey. And if you want to continue listening to Eagles talk, you got to listen. You got to download Eagles Elite. You got to go back and listen to the YouTube from last night. You got to listen to Eagles Elite. So if you want to continue the Eagles talk, go check out Eagles Elite tonight. Go listen to last night's episode. It was a great one. And if you want to continue talking about football and all football, so Scrub and a bunch of you guys up in the chat, come tune in to Sideline to Sideline. We'll be starting in just 12 minutes. Myself, D. Godfrey, my man Brett Garda 3, and Kyle Edwards. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we wrap up?
Bruce, I hope so. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Get it. Have a good Christmas, everyone.
I'm the NFL Genius, Gene Walzak. That's D. Godfrey.